everybody. Yes, it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we are still neighbors, honey. Yes, I am just so excited to still be your neighbor, and I'm glad you didn't move over the weekend or whatever. But anyway, today I have a special guest. I mean, this is a beautiful lady, honey. She's a doctor, honey. She's going to tell us some things, some myths, some truth, some lies, whatever it is, and all the stuff that we need to know about cannabis. Now, first of all, honey, back in the day, I don't know, I'm going to ask her, too, is cannabis weed or that? Because I mean, I know it's becoming a big thing now. Everybody's talking about the cannabis and we should legalize this and we should have that and all that other good stuff, honey. So I'm gonna definitely, honey, talk with my guest today. And I guess everybody that includes you, we're gonna all learn something today about cannabis. So without further ado, honey, put your hands together, y'all, for Dr. Lynn. Yes. Hey,
I
Dr.
love that
Lynn.
intro. Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Dr. Lynn, I'm doing fine now. I'm gonna tell you now. I know cannabis. I, is cannabis weed? Is that what it's just a new the medical term, or because before I even get further into all that, is that what it is? Or
Let's clarify this. So let's get into it. Cannabis itself is the scientific name for it because cannabis is the genius of the plant, right? We've heard it so many different ways and it's all synonymous. We've talked about ganja, we've talked about weed, we've talked about Mary Jane. We get a little bit of everything, but it's all describing the same plant, which is the cannabis plant.
Oh, you see that? There y'all have. You see that? Honey, a closed mouth don't get fed. That's why I had to ask before we even get further into this. But first of all, let me introduce you now, Dr. Lynn, honey. Now, according to my records, now they're saying you have over 8 years of an experience, honey, in emergency medicine. And they're saying that you educate the South Florida community on the multiple benefits of cannabis as a medical treatment for chronic pain, mental illness, seizures, and inflammation.
Thank you so much. Yes, I've had the privilege of actually working in the ER now almost 10 years. My first job after residency was at Mount Sinai Medical Center, Memorial Hospital, practicing in South Florida. So Miami, I ran straight down here. The beautiful weather, the no state taxes, the ability to stack your bread, own some property. You just can't beat it, right? So I came down and I started in the ER, and through my career, I was noticing how many people were overdosing. Remember, we're a tourist state. So we run by raves and concerts and events. We got ultra, we got this, we got, rolling out loud. Like there's so much that goes on in the city and so many people come to visit. And they end up overindulging sometimes, whether it's a little bit too much alcohol, a little bit too much mixture of drugs, different things that ends up in the ER where I get the privilege of taking care of people, right?
Yeah.
But some of those people don't make it home. They were such a overwhelming response to designer drugs. We were seeing Molly mix, we're seeing fentanyl cut weed, we're seeing different things from the black market that were leaving people in respiratory distress and eventually heart failure and brain death and ultimately not being able to walk out of the hospital. So I had to make those calls to the family like, I'm so sorry, your daughter's passed away. I'm so sorry, your son won't make it back. And that was really starting to have an emotional toll on me. So what I decided to do was really get to the root and the understanding of why are people doing this? What are you trying to compensate for? What do you need? What's going on? Where's that addiction coming from? And once I started to talk to my patients on a deeper level and understanding the purpose behind why they're doing some of these things, whether they're masking trauma or medicating for depression or addressing stress, all of these that hadn't been diagnosed, but they had been self-managing for the last few years, they didn't understand that this is an actual medical reason that you can use cannabis. So opening their mind and their understanding for having control of their health and helping them to bridge that gap between medical cannabis and the difference between black market product and the benefits of medical cannabis and qualifying for it in the state that you live that ultimately has a plan for medical cannabis.
Well, in essence, that's almost answering the question about how did you learn about the healing benefits of it?
Everything about cannabis for me has been self-learned. Fortunately, I grew up in Jamaica. So I come from a culture and a background that really emphasizes holistic medicine. Before we reach for anybody's Tylenol or Motrin or Advil, we're searching for a mint leaf, for a salve, for a tea, something that helps us to treat ourselves from a plant-based approach and holistic approach. And some of those tinctures included cannabis, right? So learning about that and using that in my family generationally, as I became a physician and had the ability to choose how I wanted to practice and how I wanted to care for people, I decided I really wanted to do more of an integrative approach between Western and Eastern medicine because there's great benefits. Pills and pharmacology has been around for a long time, and we know the science of how certain things work. It's definitely evidence-based, but there are other ways to complement your approach and eventually choose a more natural approach if it helps to fulfill the needs that you need to address.
Yeah.
So opening and expanding that mind frame is really what kind of got me here. And I started to do some research on my own. I spent some time in California where the original, OGs of the hippie world
Oh, yes.
lived, right? Because
Yes.
cannabis was legalized from the 80s in California. So the West Coast
Really?
is years ahead of us. They were one of the first states to legalize recreationally. So
Yeah.
moving in that trend, the East Coast and the rest of the country is now catching up. And I had the privilege of learning through that process and some of my elders, and they were able to show me the ropes in navigating the process. So
Yeah.
now that I'm here on the East Coast and I'm licensed in California, Georgia, and Florida, and able to help patients obtain their medical cannabis card and customize prescriptions for them and recommendations for them, it's been amazing in terms of the journey because I get to teach so many people nationwide and hopefully eventually worldwide about the benefits of it. And just understanding what's good for you might not be good for the other person, but
See,
knowing that there's options.
and that's the thing that kind of scares me because I have a lot of friends, honey, that smoke
Yeah.
cannabis/weed.
Yeah.
And they've been telling me, Gary, you need to try it. It calms you. It does, you haven't heard of a person being high on cannabis/weed running into a car or something like that. But this is the deal, though, doctor. I am clinically diagnosed. I am bipolar, and I take lithium. But I'm scared to take this stuff because I'm scared here I might jump off a bridge or do something crazy. I mean, and right now here in Georgia, and where stuff isn't legalized and what have you as of yet, because it's really about a money thing, honey. They don't want to, they scared people gonna make money and all that stuff, and the government want his cut and all that stuff, and it's just I don't know what to do.
There's politics. First of all,
Yes.
you said a lot. Thank you for sharing your personal journey
Oh,
and
yeah.
medicating with lithium through your bipolar disease and process and trying to help find that balance. So there's cannabis and there's medical cannabis, which is pretty much the cannabis form that is prescribed and recommended by a physician so that you're able to use minimal amount of doses to achieve maximum relief with creative intention. So the whole point about medical cannabis is you're being intentional about your use. You're not recreationally smoking just to smoke. You really do have a purpose behind why you're using. So with that guidance and balancing your medication and making sure you're not having any negative side effects, you can incorporate it with the work of your psychiatrist who's prescribing for you as well too.
Oh,
So
really?
it's a team effort if that's something you're interested in doing.
I don't know. 'Cause
You're not going to go jump in a car and run off a bridge or anything like that because you're starting out with very low doses of minimal medication and you're minimizing side effects. So you're tracking your course of treatment to help minimize your side effects.
Because I kind of, a part of me wanted to try it with my friends because I have a friend that smoked every day.
Yeah.
But then I just been kind of a little bit nervous. So I'm like, I might start giving away my jewelry and stuff. And yeah, no, baby.
Well, you got too much jewelry on to be giving anything away, first of all. So don't you do that, okay?
Yeah,
Save
so I'm
all
like,
your jewels, all the family jewels need to stay at home.
Yes, honey, so I'm like, But so tell me also this, Dr. Lynn. So what's the common medical marijuana myth?
Oh,
What are some of them?
wow. One of the common ones is that cannabis is a gateway drug. We hear that all the time, right? That was the initial discussion coming out that if you start with cannabis, it's going to lead you into harder drugs, like lead you into cocaine
Yes.
and lead you into pills and lead you into heroin and stuff like that and injectables. But as we've learned and as we've seen with the research over the last 6 years, cannabis hasn't been a gateway to harder drugs. Cannabis actually, when it becomes widely available in states that develop medical laws or recreational laws, you actually see minimal alcohol use and decrease in some of the other drug use because what you're doing is you're now medicating freely without having to scour for cannabis, right? You're going to a dispensary where you have third-party laboratory tested product available for you that has all of its ingredients on the packaging. There's QR codes on every single package of flower, vape, tinctures, edibles, topicals. anything that you get from a dispensary, you can scan the QR code and you can see the percentage of THC, the percentage of cannabinoids, the percentage of any additional products that you might find in there. But all of that is outlined. So you're able to understand, am I doing a hybrid, a sativa, an indica? Like what exactly is going on? What am I ingesting and what works best for me? So all of those are really important to know your products. I don't remember last time I walked in CVS and got, for example, a Percocet tablet, and I was able to scan the Percocet and see what is listed in each tablet, right?
All the ingredients.
Exactly. So you just have to understand, there are options out there, but most importantly, what is the right option for you? And we would have to do a deeper dive into your history to see if you would be a good candidate for cannabis.
So Dr. Lynn, tell me, so what are the difference between psychedelics versus CBD versus THC, honey? So, for treating various ailments, what's the difference in that?
So psychedelics is a whole nother thing. We've all heard about shrooms, right? You know anybody who uses shrooms in the Black community?
No.
Exactly, because Black people don't really do shrooms. They're very afraid of it.
For now,
exactly. But shrooms are in that gray zone. Mushrooms are in that gray zone where federally they're not really clamping down on mushrooms. So you're having more of an underground market of people that have been using for years. And what they're starting to do now is microdose shrooms so that you're minimizing the side effects. The psychedelics have a way of unlocking certain inner fears and things that you haven't addressed. What you have to do is honor the space that you're in to be able to receive and accept the psychedelics. So they are more mind altering. And it's important when you do decide to use them, to do it in a safe environment with people who have experience and that can monitor you. Because if you're both tripping on a psychedelic and you're both in a whole nother realm and you're on Pluto, who's taking care of who, right?
Exactly.
So if you're doing something for the first time, make sure you're doing it in a safe environment. Yeah. And then you asked about CBD and THC. So those are two different elements that come from the cannabis plant and genius. Shrooms and psychedelics, there's several different kinds of psychedelics, by the way, but specifically mushrooms are in one category. And then the plant, the cannabis plant, is a whole nother category, which has the byproducts of THC and CBD and hemp.
So, because I'm just thinking in my head, about the weed plant. I've seen those grown in people's yards or whatever. Yeah. So is the cannabis plant just like a weed plant? Can you grow it at home?
So language-wise, cannabis is really used in the scientific form. If you read any journal articles discussing medical cannabis, it's going to be described as cannabis. They really don't use the vernacular of weed, but we commonly use that because that's what's comfortable for us. That's what we grew up with, right?
Yeah.
So they're synonymous in the same thing. When you say weed, you're saying cannabis. So they're pretty equal. It's just culturally what's most comfortable for us to use.
Oh, okay, exactly. Yeah. That's why I didn't want to offend you. I said, because I don't want to use the word weed and she's with cannabis.
So it's not team cannabis, team weed, or team ganja, or team this. We're all one happy family. And if you meet those who really have a value and appreciation for the plant, we're just happy that you're interested in learning about the process, and whatever gifts we can share or experience we can share, happy to do that with you.
And if it was me, I would put it in I would do it where, make people upset because how the rich grand people, oh, no, honey, I'm having some cannabis. Instead of saying, I'm smoking weed. So it's like potato.
Exactly.
So, so there you have it, honey. So tell me, Dr. Lynn, so what are some of the common medical marijuana myths?
So we talked a little bit about cannabis being a gateway drug. That's one thing that
Did I ask that question already? I didn't ask that question, yeah.
Oh, we've touched on it, but we can go into a couple of other things. People always think, is CBD going to get me high? That's another myth that you hear and see a lot, and it's been dispelled and debunked over and over again. But CBD has no euphoric properties to it. It's really an anti-inflammatory. So if we want to correlate CBD and THC to common medicine cabinet products, THC would be equivalent to like your Tylenol, which you're using for pain control. And then CBD would be your anti-inflammatory, similar to your vitamins. And they help to maintain homeostasis because you have cannabinoids all throughout your body, in all of your nervous system, your gut system, your reproductive system, your endocrine system. We have cannabinoids all throughout our body. So CBD acts on those properties.
So tell me, does the CBD come in a lotion form or a cream form? Because I know one of them came in cream and lotion forms that would have.
Yes. So let's talk about all the different ways you can utilize the
Yeah.
product. So many. We've come so far in this journey. In addition to having flower, which is the most common and the most popular delivery method, there's tinctures. Tinctures are the ones that go sublingually, which is under your tongue, and it's usually in an oil-based form, right? There's also topicals, lotions, and oils that you can apply specifically to certain joints or use over your entire body, because our skin is our largest organ and we absorb transdermally through our skin, right? Another popular one, everybody knows a little bit about edibles, right?
Yeah.
You've either
Oh,
had a
Lord,
bad trip
everybody
or
got an
seen
edible.
somebody with a bad trip or something to that effect. Edibles are very common. What's most important with edibles is your dosing and how quickly you consume. Typically, people will pop one and be like, I don't feel it. This ain't hitting. Let me try another. Then they take another an hour later. Then about 2 hours later, let me just take one more just because. And now you having that delayed onset of action because it has to go through your gut and be metabolized. So anything that you ate, drank, ingested, it has a processing time in your gut. So it's a little bit more of a delayed onset and has a longer lasting effect.
Yeah.
Edibles are common and they're popular as well too. And then vape. Vape had a huge discussion and debate a couple of years ago in terms of vape cartridges and cigarettes and oils and the combustion process in vape. So that is slowly kind of gearing away as the Surgeon General was trying to denounce vape in general. But vape is still a popular delivery method as well too. And let's not forget suppositories.
Oh, you can do it in suppository too?
Yes, yes. You can do
Really?
vaginal or rectal suppositories.
Really?
Yeah, and people don't think about that, but it's really good for like my seizure patients who are unable to take anything by mouth at the time they're having an active seizure. You can do rectal suppositories. It
Really?
works really good for my women who suffer from menstrual cramping, from endometriosis, from fibroids, all of the things that women have to endure and deal with in our reproductive system. You can do vaginal suppositories, and it doesn't mess with your pH, you know?
Really?
So it really
Oh.
has a direct location for how it can act on that area.
Oh.
And it's
Well,
absorbed by the mucosa. So it goes right into the bloodstream. So it's faster acting that way.
I know the queens be loving the suppositories.
It's such a taboo thing, though. No one goes to the dispensary saying, let me get that suppository. It's a taboo thing because people don't think about it that way. First thing women are going to ask is going to mess up my pH. I'm about to get a BV infection. I'm about to get a yeast infection. And you're like, hold on, slow down.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. Let's explain how this process works and helps them to understand a little bit more about the anti-inflammatory property to it.
All right. So, Dr. Lynn, tell me, why is it important for women physicians, especially Black and brown women, to be a part of the medical cannabis movement?
Honestly, if you are not learned in the industry and you haven't taken the time to educate yourself, you're going to miss an entire population of people who are coming into your office demanding information. So in my medical practice, I'm in the emergency room and I get all kinds of questions. Every single patient is on Dr. Google, right? So they come in already with a mindset like, I have appendicitis, or I have this, I've Googled this, I have these classic symptoms. They have talked themselves into these disease processes. So what our goal is to do is to work them up and really help to narrow down and focus on the actual diagnosis. So you're kind of dispelling all of those things and you're working from a defense. But once you get to the diagnosis, then we have to talk about treatment. And in treatment, people are really yearning for and desiring a much more clean, natural approach, plant-based approach to their health. They really don't want to do pharmaceuticals, you know? They're pulling away from the ethos of using pills. They'd like to do a more holistic approach to their healthcare and be as clean as possible. So you're seeing that. And to be on trend and to be able to be informative for your patients, you have to know your background. You got to know your audience. So if I can't talk to you and answer your questions, or at least guide you to someone who is well-informed and trained and able to do that for you, I've already lost you in the patient-doctor interaction and I've lost your trust, right? So if you ask me a question, I'm like, I don't know, go look it up. You're already going to be turned off from anything that I'm trying to guide and say. So my goal and really my responsibility as a physician, as a Black female physician, and specifically, is to make sure that I'm equipped to answer those questions for patients. And if I don't have the answer, do the research that I can for them. And if not, guide them to someone else who will be able to manage and help them on the journey. Because that's my responsibility as a physician.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
that's my privilege to be able to take care of patients. So we never want to be like, I don't know, figure it out. Because when you start doing that with people, they lose your respect, they lose your trust, and they're not coming back to see you. So you've
Nope.
lost a patient, and that one will tell 10 more people. You've now lost 10 patients, right?
Exactly. You know, word of mouth, baby, is where it's at.
Right.
So, Dr. Lynn, before we end this, honey, tell us about your MMJ clinics.
Thank
all that.
you. Thank you for asking. So, you know, during COVID, we were deemed essential and we were able to use telehealth to really visit patients and approve them for their medical cannabis refills and stuff like that. But now that COVID is minimizing a little bit and the world's opening up a little more, I recently opened a brand new clinic in Aventura, Florida. My website is www.askdrlynn, AskDoctorLyn.com. And you're able to see all my information about my Aventura, Florida location where I see patients and help qualify them for medical cannabis. I've recently moved into the Georgia area, the Atlanta area, because by the end of the month, your first medical dispensaries will be opening. So Georgia
Really?
is an approved medical state and
Look at
requires
that.
for a physician to do your physical examination and qualify you as well through your medical marijuana registry of Georgia. It's the low THC oil program. So they're building, they're very, very early in their process, but we're just happy that the door is open, because once the door is open, now we can break it down, right? Now we can use all the things that we've learned in all the other states, which is over 40 states right now that have some kind of cannabis, hemp, or THC program. So Georgia has the advantage of moving at a much faster pace if the state allows it to, because they can piggyback on all the other things that the states have done and really bring access to the people quickly. And then finally, in addition to those two locations, I have California. California is a little bit oversaturated at this point with physicians. So my main goal when I'm in California is more of an educational learning experience. Because they're more cutting edge on the West Coast than the East Coast, I go there a lot and do conferences and do experiences and just really absorb the culture of cannabis, because they're on a different wave than the East Coast. So I get to integrate the spiritual aspect of cannabis as well as the medicinal aspect and just help patients to understand that it's a very broad spectrum in treatment.
Really? Well, honey, this interview is definitely going to get out, because we need to know about this in Georgia, because I didn't know anything about it. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about that, honey, to know that Dr. Lynn is going to be in the city and being able to do the wonderful things that cannabis could do for the people, especially, the cancer patients and the mental, which I really didn't think for mental, but I think that's a real good thing now. So who knows, one day I may just step out and, decide to see what cannabis could do for me, honey. So taking lithium is good, but I'm sure there's other alternatives. So hey, we could just check that out.
One step at a time. When you're ready, we'll take a thorough review of your history and see what works best for you. And we'll take it slow. Just let me know when you're ready. It's such a pleasure to see you and meet you.
Dr.
I can't wait for us to do this in person.
Yes, honey, same here. Well, Dr. Lynn, before we end this, let the people know again how they can reach you and all that wonderful good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. So my name is Dr. Safiya Kim Lynn, and I practice in Georgia, Florida, and California. And my website is AskDrLyn.com. And my social media handles are all uniform. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You're going to go to @AskDrLyn, AskDoctorLyn, or you can call my office at 305-487-0902. If you DM me on any of those social media platforms, I'm actually the one responding. So feel free to hit me up if you have questions specifically about cannabis. Don't slide in my DM, but ask me about cannabis and I will absolutely respond to you and help guide you where you need to go.
All right. Well, Dr. Lynn, thanks again for coming on, honey. And I want you to have a great day and a better tomorrow.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Gary. This has been amazing. Good to see you.
Thank you. See you too, honey. And I love the Van Club in RPL. That is.
I'm trying to keep up with you, baby.
Okay. You have a good day, Dr. Lynn.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye-bye. All right, now that was Dr. Lynn, honey. I mean, she's, baby, if y'all are not, honey, tuning in, and if y'all are not, honey, telling your friends about getting ready to see, you are missing the truth because, honey, Dr. Lynn told us all today about cannabis because this is something we need to know about, especially if you're going through a lot of pain, honey, if you're going to experiencing cancer, experiencing mental health or whatever. Dr. Lynn is definitely the person that you need to talk to. So, honey, she left all her information, honey, on site and what have you. So please go to her if you need to talk to somebody about cannabis. All right, y'all. I want y'all to have a great day and a better tomorrow. And if you enjoyed all of this wonderful stuff, click here, there, everywhere because you did it, honey. And I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you all have a great day and a better tomorrow, honey.